Hey everybody, welcome to Strength Coach TV. I'm Anthony Rana. This is the show where we take you inside some of the country's best gyms, give you a tour, and then we sit down with the owners and we talk a little bit of shop. Shout out to my sponsors, Marigold Foods, marigoldbars.com. I couldn't do this without them anymore. Because they're sponsoring, they're allowing me to go to more gyms, bring this information to you guys. Plus, I absolutely love the bars. I have them every day. Non-GMO, no gluten, no soy, no preservatives, low sugar, and they taste great. Marigold Foods, marigoldbars.com. All right, so today I head up to Kennebunk, Maine, to Spurling Fitness to talk to Doug Spurling. Great story here. This is almost the quintessential way to open a place. He bought the building. He's got 2 acres of land. He's growing it organically. He's becoming a huge part of the community. And what they're really doing is building an amazing culture. You got to watch what they're doing to build culture and kind of engage their members, and also how he goes through the assessment process. We're going to talk about that. But there's lots of things going on here. We're going to talk about buying the building versus maybe leasing. He's actually said he was paying more money renting than his mortgage is. But also, like I said, building a culture. And then really interesting, being in a small town, okay, like Kennebunk, and not having a lot of competition, how that can actually hurt you. Interesting points there. So let's head up to Kennebunk and hang out with Doug Spurling at Spurling Fitness. Hey guys, welcome to Kennebunk, Maine. I'm here with Doug Spurling of Spurling Fitness. Doug, thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so this building, how big is it?
6,400 square feet.
Okay, now that's with everything, like the offices?
So it's about 4,500 square feet of training space, and then another 1,500 of lobby space.
Okay, and we're gonna go over, you own the building as well. So you own the property. There's a lot of property here. How much property is there?
So we're right up along the interstate, and then going up this road is a 2-acre square lot.
2 acre, nice.
So we got some good space outside as well.
Yeah, obviously you have good parking, whatever, you know.
Plenty of parking.
You have some area, and we'll show you in a bit, but for potential expansion.
Yes. Yep.
What kind of an area is this? This is not really an industrial area, but it's...
So the town of Kennebunk is fairly small for 9 months of the year, and then explodes in tourists for 3 months.
Yeah.
But we're kind of about a mile or so outside of Route 1, which is kind of the main town. I would call this like a light industrial. So we have an auto body shop across from us. We have a seafood wholesaler next to us. And then the local bank's headquarters is at the top of the street.
Yeah,
but
so
it's
definitely a destination space.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
Okay,
for sure.
Cool. Now, talk to me about competition in a small town like this. Is there anything else like this at all? Even close?
No. So one of the big advantages is not having a ton of competition.
Yeah.
But also, I would call it also a challenge as well. I'm sure we can talk about later, which is there's not a single training gym other than us in this town. So the potential members or prospects don't even know what a training gym is.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we'll talk about that and from a marketing perspective when we sit down.
Sure.
So who is the member? Who's coming in here? Who's your demographic?
90% of our clients are females, 45 to 65.
Wow.
Just trying to look better, feel better, move better.
Yeah.
I guess we'll call them general population.
Yeah.
The other 10% are middle school, and then the husbands or a few males.
Interesting.
But largely female.
Wow, that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So a lot of potential for growth here.
For sure.
And you have 350 members, right?
Yes.
You said, and you're going to cap it, right?
We're going to cap our membership at 400. That's a big decision for us. And a differentiator as well, but also just a very clear vision of where we want to go.
Cool. We'll talk about that afterwards too, because that's an interesting perspective. Okay. Now, staff. How much staff do you have?
So we have, there's 8 of us. We have 5 full-time coaches, myself, a full-time director of customer experience, and then 1 part-time coach that does early morning, a couple days a week, and a couple late nights to fill in those prime times.
Wow, okay. Very cool. All right, well, let's get a tour. Wait, how long have you been here in this space?
So we've been in business for 6 years, but I bought this building 3 years ago, so we've been in this space for 3 years.
Okay, and the other space was, did you own the building there too?
No, that was just starting out, like a lot of us, 1940s old warehouse.
Yep.
Looked like you were walking into a dungeon.
What was the square footage there?
That was, funny enough, that was actually bigger. That was 7,000 square
Really?
feet. But
Okay.
it was a really, really good deal, so I had to jump on it.
Yeah.
But then we had to get out of there and found this building. So.
All right, very cool. Let's get a tour.
Sure.
And we'll check it out.
Hey guys, welcome to Spurling Fitness. We're gonna take a tour inside.
Cool, Doug. Let me just, you talked about this area. Obviously, this is, so you own to the picnic table right there?
We own actually all the way out to the interstate.
Oh, you do?
We have a 5-foot setback, but other than that, we own all the way.
Cool. All right. So this is where obviously they enter.
Yeah, so as clients come in, we got this from Vince, who is also on Strength Coach TV.
Yes.
That little sign right there as they come in, awesome for that first impression.
Yes. You got a lot of these type of really 1% better as they're leaving. I love this.
Yeah, our big motto is 1% better, and you'll see in the gym we do a lot of graffiti, which we'll talk about just to add some kind of culture and vibe to the facility. Cool. So when clients walk in, they'll actually spin here to the right, and we have cubbies and coat hooks for them. This is one bathroom. This one does not have a shower in it. We have another bathroom that's actually on the other side of this wall that does have a shower in it.
Cool, cool.
So when clients come in, the first thing they see, testimonials. We haven't rotated these, but our plan is to rotate these. They're more in depth, but also I would say most people don't even read them. It's just the first impression of seeing client testimonials there. Event stuff for current clients on the table always. We do a 5K, a monthly event calendar, all that stuff right here. Bench for them to change. In the wintertime, obviously we're in Maine, so we get a long winter. That bench is a little bit higher than normal, works well for snow boots and stuff like that.
Very cool. And you do a lot of testimonials on your website as well, I saw.
Smothered. That's my best recommendation for marketing. Testimonial, testimonial, testimonial.
Absolutely.
So when clients come in, they check in on the iPad right here. And this little chalkboard also we got from Vince. I'll give a shout out to him. This is we use to welcome anybody on their first day.
Oh,
so
cool.
we don't, obviously today's Friday afternoon, so we don't do any new people on Friday afternoons, but normally if there's anybody coming in for their first day, they get their name right there so they see it when they first walk in.
Very cool. This is like an old bar or something.
We do have our liquor license here. We actually do have our liquor license. We do a lot of socials since we're largely female based. We do a lot of socials here for our members and kind of wine nights and stuff like that. So our insurance broker is our client and made us get a liquor license. So gladly pay for that. So yeah, nice little social area when they first walk in. Coaches use it for working or anything like that. But we also use it for our nutrition groups or any socials.
Cool, and obviously you're selling lots of different supplements over here.
On the supplements, we redid this about a year ago just to make it a little bit nicer as far as display. We have a chalkboard. We use chalkboards a ton just for the creativity, but chalkboard on the wall there for the menu, and then your standard protein shakes, bars, stuff like that.
What's going on behind you?
So in here, we can sneak in here. In here is the coaches' offices. So this is where the coaches work when they're not coaching. This is also where clients meet for their what we call a strategy session, which is basically their in-body. So we have an in-body here, and then just kind of goal setting and nutrition chats as well.
Cool. This is awesome here. Frequent sweaters.
So this is Mel's work. Mel was at the desk that you just saw. So
Mel's bartender, right?
Mel is the bartender / director of customer experience.
How do you get on this board here?
So this is for anybody that got 10 workouts in the previous month.
Oh, very cool.
So we pull our attendance report, and then once they get their 10 visits in, we do a report at the end of the month, and they get their name on the board.
Very cool, very cool.
So as clients enter into the gym space, we have towels for them, and then more event stuff, always plastering that in different ways.
Yeah, I love all this, what you do here with lots of just different pictures of the clients as well. I think it's another creating a really great culture here.
Sure, so you'll see these are just like foam posters and then testimonials as well as still pictures. Kim, who you saw at the bar there, is one of our coaches, but she also does our marketing. She's great with photography, but even if you're not, that's just a still picture on the iPhone, blow it up with your local printer, and works really, really well.
Yeah, very cool.
So clients come in, they'll spin here to the left. We have our soft tissue stuff, foam rolls, lacrosse balls. We do some med ball work right in the warm up, so we got a couple med balls here. Warm up over here, Also, no sessions going right now, but that TV, it's got a screensaver on it right now, but that TV is typically looping as a demonstration of our warm-up.
Very cool. More pictures here. Doug, really quick, what's going on upstairs? Is there...
So this is our mezzanine space. Right now it's vacant, but again, we'll chat about having this super clear vision of 400 members. Once we hit 400 members, we've had some kind of brainstorming ideas. It's a nice space out there. It's open. It's, like I said, it's about 1,200 square feet-ish. We would have to put stairs in, but maybe something in the PT or massage or something like that up there.
Yeah, awesome. Well, let's go back over here really quick.
Sure.
Before we... This area right here, is this where just people are hanging out, or?
So this is where, so we have our bar area out front, which is more, I would say, for current clients. This is where actually a new client, what we call their success session or their first day orientation, they come in and sit at this circle pub table. It works really well because it's conversational, but it also, they're able to kind of get a good idea of what a typical training session looks like while they're chatting with the coach. They can kind of get the vibe and the culture and the community of what's going on during the session.
Cool, let's just play, not devil's advocate, but obviously you do a lot of stuff with Vince Gabriel and Thomas Plummer.
Sure.
And Vince has that enclosed room, although it has a window into looking into the... Your thoughts on the difference between the two, because somebody might be intimidated. Somebody might say, people are going to get intimidated. Why are you having them out here in the middle of...
Sure. I would say, and I think Vince has it too, the circle table is a must. So whether you put it in the office or out in the gym space, can probably debate both ways.
Yeah.
We've found, especially with our clientele, they actually like being out here because, again, what I mentioned earlier with not having another training gym around us, it seems like it's great, and it is good to some extent, but also they don't know, they're like, most of our prospects have no clue that they're going to work with a coach every single time they're here.
Yeah.
They've never even wrapped their brain around that. So we want them to actually see what's going on. And if you're working with general population, kettlebells, TRX, the rigs, that stuff is very intimidating to them. So the earlier they can get exposed to it, and the coach is right there with them, so they're going to turn their head around while they're sitting at this table. We actually usually try to put them in this chair so that they're facing out towards the gym. They'll ask like, oh, what's that big hunk of metal? And that's our 24-foot rig. But we have the opportunity to explain it, versus if you're in the office, sometimes you don't get those questions, and who knows, that may be the one kind of barrier or that intimidation factor that stops them from joining.
Very cool. Well, talk to me about the Spurling 7 Pillars of Movement here poster. What's going on?
So we created this just to basically educate our clients about progression regression. We actually got this from Mike Perry, who I know has also been on Strength Coach.
Yeah.
But he has a great one, and we kind of modeled that. But our clients, I think, don't understand in the beginning, it's not their job to, how we program and the basics, probably fundamental movements that all of us are familiar with, like the squat, the hinge, the push, the pull. So these aren't certainly all of our progression regressions, but it was just a nice visual, timed here nicely when a new client is sitting with us, but also as clients are working out. We'll get questions like, oh, why am I only doing a goblet squat and Susie next to me is doing a barbell front squat? So we can start to explain the progression regression. So not all of our progressions regressions, but just a nice visual to get that buy-in.
Love it. Very cool.
So clients wrap around, they finish their warm-up over here, and then they would see their coach for their workout.
Cool.
We have a little bit more of, we try to plaster the event and marketing stuff. We notice that clients always forget about everything going on, so we have the event calendar, we have new members for the month, the birthdays. We actually put this stuff, and this is more like logistical, like housekeeping, about the MindBody app that we use, and to make sure they schedule their in-body and stuff like that.
Yep.
But we found that putting it over here by the warm-up turf was actually helpful because they spend more time here compared to just walking through it in the lobby.
Yeah.
So graffiti we have all over the place, graffitis and chalkboards. We actually got connected with a local artist. He's a young kid, he went to art school, and he just is super creative with the stuff. This is all freehand. Anything you see is freehand. Wow. It's crazy. Cool. And for us, I mean, that's our logo. Spurling Strong is a nice little saying that we used. 1% better is kind of our motto about just getting a little bit better every day. But the clients, I found, even you would think the general population females, they love that kind of stuff. So we have it all over the place. Our rig with our 6 squat racks, straps in the middle.
Records up there, huh?
Yeah, we got a big old record board. from a standpoint of, I would say long-term. We'll see another chalkboard over on the group training side in a minute. This is, I would call it more of a long-term chalkboard. Clients, when they first get in, they kind of see, okay, we got the Fat Loss Club 20, 40, 60. We have different strength records, so it kind of keeps them motivated to eventually get their name on the board. And you balance that with some of the shorter-term stuff like the Frequent Sweaters Club that we saw earlier.
Yeah. I love the organization here too in terms of like having the barbell rack over there, things like this. This is like, I'm a little OCD, so I love that. Like, hey, everybody knows where they're gonna find the collars. You know what I mean? Also, this kettlebell rack is awesome. Where's this from?
So this storage unit is Move Strong unit.
Okay. Oh, okay, cool.
So Move Strong, Perform Better also sells it through Move Strong, but we love it. I am very OCD, so Anthony mentioned it a little. I am very OCD, so I think there's a couple reasons why people will leave a gym: results, boredom, and number 3 is cleaning. So if the facility is not clean, people are going to leave, especially if you're a training-based gym where you're charging a couple $100s a month to work with you. The clients want a clean gym. So storage is, and also from a logistical standpoint, having as much as you can up on the walls will help with opening up floor space.
Yeah, it looks cleaner, it looks open, it's very cool. Give me, wow, you got a lot of space out here, a lot of potential, and we'll talk about this when we sit down, but it's got to be tempting to look out there.
It's very, very tempting, and I'll tell you, as a coach, in the coach-trainer mindset, your thought is just to do something out there right away. But if you kind of think about it as the client mindset, working with mostly females, general population, older clientele, that's a little rough for them. It's a little gravelly right now, so we have some future plans for it, but it's not as easy as just, if we worked predominantly with athletes, I'd have them out there every day. But working with the general population, it'll be more of a long-term strategy.
Cool.
So we have our med ball wall here. One huge recommendation that I've gotten over the years is to have multiples of everything in different locations, kind of gyms within gyms. So you'll see we have ropes 4 sets of ropes over here, but then when we get down to the other corner, we have ropes over there. We have bands in multiple different spots. So that way you're not, if you're programming one exercise, not everybody's kind of clustering in that same area. Med ball wall, we just used 2 sheets of plywood, double layered, and then the 4x6 rubber stall mats that a lot of us use for flooring, and then that same graffiti guy. We actually used to be Spurling Training Systems before we switched to Spurling Fitness, and that is our old STS logo.
Cool. Well, 2 things you don't have to worry about really is neighbors and the landlord.
So the one of the few perks of owning the building is no landlord. I am the landlord, so can't complain about noise. Med ball storage rack, awesome. If you have more than 16 med balls, we use them a ton, and it's great to get them off the wall. This TV, we don't have any clients here right now, but this TV is used for MyZone. So we have MyZone heart rate monitoring, and then also interval timers and stuff like that.
Very cool, that little barbell.
It's got the S in there. So this is one of our major chalkboards. We do a client spotlight every month, and then staff and clients are encouraged to kind of give them a high five. Every month we do a performance challenge, so something either conditioning based or strength based. We actually just added ski ergs, which you'll see in a minute. So this month we introduced a ski erg challenge. We're huge, being predominantly females with non-scale victories, so anything outside of just losing 10 pounds, so whether it's fitting into a certain pant size or being able to get on a bike or anything like that, so we do a ton of engagement stuff over here.
Very cool. Yeah, this is like, some of this culture stuff is really awesome, man.
I think it's your culture is what will make or break you in the sense of making a difference. That's our number one. I always say our number one differentiator is our community and our culture. So events, this helps. So the space that you see here, the large turf space, is where we do our what we call team training or large group. And so at the end of the session, the coaches are doing end of session announcements. And so this works really well because they're kind of all stretching out right here, and the coach can basically just read off the chalkboard.
What's going on here?
This is our PR bell. So everybody's. You can pick those up on Amazon super cheap. When you talk about bringing energy to your facility, a mom ringing that because she can goblet squat 50 pounds and she used to only goblet squat 30 pounds.
Very cool,
Huge. We do a weekly challenge. So just we're huge fans of little micro challenges. If you're working with that general pop, they need that constant motivation. So we do a lot of low level challenges to keep them engaged. Another set of bands here, stability balls. Another, you notice we duplicate a lot of stuff. Like I said, we're running small group on one side and then large group over here. So we need to have multiples. There's our ropes, more storage there just for some miscellaneous stuff, cones. We're trying to get over here, we're trying to get 4 of everything. We're almost there. But we have 3 rowers. We just added the ski ergs a couple weeks ago, and then 3 bikes. The plan is with our large group to have 4 of everything. That way we can make it flow very nicely.
Awesome, great job, man. Loving this. This is just the way it's structured. Everything is pretty cool, and I could imagine with this kind of a space too, there is a temptation to be like, want to fill it with more equipment, right? And we were talking with a couple people like recently about getting what you want versus getting what you need, right?
For sure. For sure. I think the trainer mindset of what you want for equipment and the client mindset of what they want for equipment, they actually don't care what the equipment is. They want it to be clean. It doesn't have to be top of the line, but they want it to be clean and organized. You don't have to have the best of the best. Most of what you see here is nothing fancy. It's just very clean and very organized, and that's what the clients appreciate. They don't know the difference between a $6,000 machine and the one that, our bands. Those are rails that we got from Home Depot, the handicap rails that people use in their bathrooms.
Oh, wow.
And it looks sharp, it looks clean, and a heck of a lot cheaper than any other band mount.
Yeah, it was kind of hidden.
Yep.
So right there, that's what you're talking about. Very cool.
So I think stuff like that, I know a lot of us are on a budget when we're first starting out, so don't cheap out so much to the point where I think in today's day, competitiveness, you can't be so cheap that you scare people away.
Yeah.
It can't be that dirty garage gym unless that's essentially you're working with maybe a power lifter or something like that. But if you're working with a general pop, you have to have it clean and organized, but it doesn't have to be high end as far as price point.
Agreed. Good stuff. Let's go sit down and we'll talk some business.
Sure.
All right, Doug, thank you so much for the tour. This is for you, by the way, from Marigold Bars, our sponsor.
Awesome.
Non-GMO, no soy, gluten-free, low sugar, and they taste great. They really do. They do have to be refrigerated because there's no preservatives. That's right. But, you got like 4 or 5 coaches over there.
They'll eat them right up.
So I want to talk to you about a few things. First, let's talk about this idea of capping at 400. Where does that come from? Why are you doing that? And what does it involve?
So we call it the Tribe of 400. The having a very clear vision. I think as a young trainer, or really anybody getting into the industry, we know it's the chase of more clients and more clients and more clients. And I'll be the first to tell you that I would have never thought we'd have 350 clients, but it really just gives us a very clear picture of where we want to go. We can base our staffing off of it. We can base our financials off of it. Everything is based off of that 400. Yeah. So it gives us kind of that first milestone. I mean, we of course have the small milestones, getting to the first 100 and et cetera, and I can talk about the pain points. I think there's a pain point for every 100 you hit, but 400 just gives us a very clear picture and then allows us to do other things. We're big on community here, huge on just taking over our community and having that tribe of 400 members. One, there'll be nice raving fans for us, but also it will allow us to kind of say, okay, let's keep this riding smooth, and now what other things can we do with the community? Yeah,
awesome. Now, you think, obviously you're always going to lose some members, so that'll always be there'll always be a room for some more, but you do own the building, so it's not like the rent's going to go up.
Right.
So that's one thing, but do you think that there will be a time though that you might say, you know what guys, we need to make some more revenue? Will you think about doing it other ways, or you think that that's going to pretty much, you really want to stay there at 400?
I think as of right now, I'm notorious for changing my mind frequently, as most business owners are, but as of right now, for the last year and a half, we've been locked in on this 400. We decided that right when we hit 300, I kept feeling that we were chasing a lot more clients, and we were doing the challenges to flood the gym, and old members were getting irritated and all this other stuff. So having that just gives us a nice clean, hey, let's try to net 5 to 10 clients a month and get there in the next year or so. That helps us a lot. But there's always going to be some natural attrition to this business. So we'll always have to get a handful of new clients every month. But I think we can be a little bit more strategic about who they are. We can be very clear on who they are. We can make sure that they're the right fit for our community. But there'll always have to be a little bit of that new client acquisition. That's just part of this business. And I think the revenue after that will come from other things. Like I said, I really think of this gym as not a gym. I think of it as a community. And we have this community of 400 members, and how else can we serve them? So can we serve them in other wellness capacities like physical therapy, like massage, like nutrition, all that other stuff. But we've even toyed with the idea of having some type of event space or something like that. You saw the large space out back. I don't personally have plans of making it a bigger gym, because that, a lot of more clients is more headaches, which is sometimes a good thing, but for us, we're very clear on, I think it should be something that complements the gym, not is a bigger gym.
Absolutely. So that being said, let's talk a little bit about, you did say that not having competition can be tough because people don't understand about what a training gym is, right?
So I think that, I have a lot of friends that have gyms, and they're down in New York City or Boston, and there's training gyms on every corner, which, trust me, I cannot relate, and I give you all the credit in the world, because you have to be even more on your game. I would say we come at it from a different point of view, in that we're in the southern tip of Maine. We're only an hour from Logan Airport. So we're not like in desolate Maine, but we are in a state where other than one-on-one personal training, people don't know that there's another option besides the traditional $10 health club. So for the first 3 to 4 years of business, we really had to do a lot of content-based education, and we still do a ton of content-based education to even just show people that, hey, you can join a gym. It's not going to be as expensive as one-on-one personal training, but it is going to be a couple $100s a month, and that concept of always having a coach with you at every workout to the community, and just, I would say, Maine in general, is fairly new. So that kind of led itself to its own challenges. Yeah,
very cool. Now, with this idea of 400 members, now you said, okay, when we get to 400, we'll decide about the outside space. We'll decide about that elevated space. What's going to go into that? Okay, cool. We're at 400. Now we're going to start talking about what else can we do to serve our members. What are you going to do for that?
Sure. So we'll continue to survey our clients. We survey our clients for everything. And again, that will always go, you heard me say a couple times, like the client mindset versus the trainer mindset. I want to do, of course, what we want to do, but I also want to make sure that the clients are going to, because they'll, at least in the beginning, feed whatever idea that is. It may not be led 100% by our 400 members, but they'll have a huge kind of kickstart to it. So with the mezzanine space, we've toyed with the idea of, with the amount of members that we do have, we only have 2 bathrooms. One has a shower in it. We've toyed with the idea of, you saw the coaches' offices down here, putting the coaches' offices up there and making that space a little bit larger of a kind of a third changing area with probably not showers, but just we at like peak time have a line to get into both bathrooms to change. We're right off the interstate, so we have a lot of people that commute here right after work. So we thought about that. The challenge with that, as a gym owner, as a business owner, is that there's not really a return on that. Maybe a little bit on the experience, maybe a little bit intangible on the retention and just the experience as a whole, but there's not a direct revenue to just putting more bathrooms in and having to move the coaches. Also, selfishly, I don't like having the coaches up there, because it's nice that when clients walk in, they see the coaches, even if they're not on the floor. Our staff is all full-time, so that's a huge benefit to us. That's part of the culture, and we can talk about that as well. Part of the culture I wanted to build is having a team that's full-time and kind of going against the norm of the industry. But other ideas up there, obviously we can complement it with physical therapy, massage, nutrition, chiro, any of those kind of wellness umbrellas. For me, I know I'm like a lot of us, we're good with shiny objects, and I didn't want to get distracted with that project, because that's a project. I mean, I just reached out to an architect, and it's $5,000 just for her to do the drawing of the space, just for that little mezzanine space. $5,000 just to do a drawing. That doesn't even do anything but give me a piece of paper with a drawing on it. So I'm willing to do that, but I don't want to let that distract me until, that's why I think it's so important to have that vision until we get to 400. Then we can start to, numbers are great, obviously, so we can start to mess with some, we're okay expensing that money out. And we know we're focused on that. That's our next project. And the same thing with the backspace. It's obviously has the ability to expand quite a bit. We can basically double our building, but having that clear vision of 400, that doesn't mean we're going to have to now have 800 members. That's not our vision. So plenty of ideas, but we'll stay focused on that once we get 400.
Yeah. Let's talk about owning the building, because we don't get a lot of, I can't remember, I don't know of anybody that owns their building right now that I've gone to. So, did you inherit a lot of money, or just, I know you didn't, but talk to us about that. Is it cheaper than people think? Is it like, what went into owning this building?
Sure. So I started at 21 years old, graduated college, and started off in a 1940s old, it was actually the Gillette Razor, one of the original warehouse buildings. It was a dump. You walked in there and you thought you were going to get sick just walking in. I mean, a lot of us, where we started, kind of that dark and grungy space, right? And so I started with that, and we actually had a situation where the land that the building was owned by the town, and they were going to need to put another town building on that. So we knew we were going to lose that lease in 3 years. So at the year 3 point, I started looking for other properties, and basically in the town that we're in, there's very little industrial space like this. It's a lot of mom and pop retail bays, which you pay an arm and a leg for, as most of you know, and we wanted that large, high-ceiling industrial space. One day I drove by this building, it was vacant, and I knocked on the door, and a gentleman, a gentleman walked out, and it used to be a guy's garage for his antique cars. This space, he kept 8 antique cars in this building. And funny enough, he was consolidating. I think he was moving to South Carolina or buying a second home. Anyways, long story short, he was looking to get rid of the building. And we talked it out. I went to my local bank. I have a great connection with our local bank. Took out the standard 20-year commercial loan. Obviously, you had to have some cash to put down, but our mortgage here is more affordable than our rent was at our first location.
See, that's what I really wanted to get out of you, because I think there's a misconception about that. Like, how am I going to do that? Well, you're paying rent and you're not getting anything out of it, when you could be, when this is probably a better way to go, because you do have an exit strategy. If you wanted to get rid of, if you were going to lose the business, then you own the building. You can just sell the building. Whereas if you, if you do want to sell the business, cool. You're collecting rent now from somebody, so there's still that. It's a great strategy.
Lots of pros and cons of owning the building. In the, knock on wood, in the first 3 years, it's been great. But I will tell you that there's a large risk. For me, I'm a big financial whiz. I think we had 6 months sitting in the bank of operating expenses before we made this decision, and that was very important to me, because as the landlord now, if something goes wrong, I can't make a phone call and say, hey, our roof is leaking, or hey, we're on private septic here, and potentially we may need to connect to public sewer in the future. That's, I think, $40,000 or $50,000. So you have to have a little bit of, yes, month to month, for most situations, I think it's more affordable, and you're building up that equity, but there's also the risk and the upfront cash flow of the down payment and stuff like that.
Yeah. What are some other things that you feel like kind of going into this, you own the building now, you've owned it, what are some things that you would kind of warn people about, in good and bad? What are some things that you feel like you'd want to tell somebody who's thinking about owning a building?
One, your real estate attorney should be your best friend. Not should be your best friend, but become best friends with your real estate attorney. For us, we have a really, really strong team of accountant, attorney, financial advisor. Those three, I think a lot of us, again, I'll go back to that trainer mindset, that coach mindset, we run it like coaches. I try to run it as a business owner. And so if you were any other industry, you would have a really good team of an accountant, a financial bookkeeper, things like that, and a lawyer. So that would be first, have that team in place, and that's the way I think of it. I think of those 3 gentlemen for me as my team. Consult with them, make sure the numbers make sense. Advantage is obviously in 20 years, I'm gonna own this space, and as Anthony said, if I wanna flip it into something else, or there's exit strategies in place. Cons being, it's on you. If something goes wrong, there's no 3-year lease and then opt out. I'm still personally on the line if something goes wrong with any liability. Insurances are a little bit higher. Yeah. You're not splitting costs with anybody, so any things like landscaping, plowing, any of the you not only need personal and professional liability insurance and equipment insurance, but you also now need all the insurances for the property itself. So there are a little bit of additional costs associated with it, but you always have that kind of, I guess, go-to in the back of your mind that's, hey, you own this space, so there's a big advantage to that long term. I would say with all of the stuff, whether it's Tribe of 400, whether it's owning the building, I'm here to play the long game, and if we always play the long game, then we don't make, that's true for marketing as well, you don't make little quick, stupid decisions and in turn play the long game. That's the approach with the building, that's the approach with the business in general, is just always play the long game.
Absolutely, good stuff. Well, yeah, I love what you're doing here.
Cool.
And this is really, I think there's a lot to learn in this episode, from whether it's culture building, whether it's the way you keep the facility, whether it's probably think about owning the building. Sure. and again, and not thinking beyond, like, I love this Tribe of 400 idea. There's really a lot to learn here. So Doug, thanks for doing this, man. Really appreciate it.